We just saved a lot of space. So this image is going to load a lot quicker. It's going to speed up our page load time, which is something that Google likes to see. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Alex with Green Tree Media. Today, what I wanted to share with you was an easy, free way for you to optimize the images for your website. One of the things that I see all the time in web development is people will add images to their website that they either took with their smartphone or images that they found online through one of those free stock photography websites. And the issue is that the images are really good images. They're really high resolution, crisp, clear images. But the downside of that is that the images are also very large in size, and so what happens is it takes more resources, more bandwidth, more everything to serve those to the people that visit your website. So what I'm going to show you today is something that you should be doing for all the images on your website, and that's running them through a program called Pixlr if you don't have Photoshop. If you have Photoshop, I recommend Photoshop, but if you don't, Pixlr is a free online alternative. There's no software to download, no accounts to set up. You can just go to the website, start editing your images, and I'm going to show you how to do that in just a couple easy steps. So the website we're going to go to is pixlr.com. That's pixlr.com. And first, actually, I'll shoot over to Unsplash here and download a free image that we can use as a test here. So I'm going to just download this image right here of this little boardwalk going down to the beach, because that's a pretty cool image. So Unsplash is a royalty-free website. Actually, all the images, and I think they even have videos now on Unsplash, are released under the Creative Commons Zero license, which means you can use them for personal use, you can use them for commercial use, and there's no royalties that you have to pay. Obviously, if you have the opportunity to credit the photos, and I recommend doing that because it's awesome that they're giving these away and letting you use them for whatever. So I always try to shout out or to give credit to the photographer who took the photo that I'm about to use. So, all right, now that we have that, we're going to jump back over to Pixlr. I'm going to scroll down here, and what you want to do is you want to click on the Pixlr Editor Launch Web App button here, and that will load up our web app. And then what we'll do is we'll open image from computer. So I'll open this image here. Alright, so now we've got our image in here, and this is Pixlr's telling us that the image is 4,000 pixels by 2,667 pixels wide, which is a massive image. I definitely do not want to just upload this to my website. And actually, let's take a look and see what the actual size of the image is. So it's 3.2 megabytes. That's pretty big. I would definitely never want to upload that. If you've ever been to a website where an image is loading on the page and it's kind of loading in chunks or loading, just line by line, that's an image that was just uploaded that's way too large. So we're going to go ahead and optimize this. For the ideal dimensions that you want to use, it's really going to depend on your layout and your website. So talk to your web developer. They're going to know better than anybody else what image sizes you should be using. A good rule of thumb that I use on a lot of my sites is if it's going to be a background image, such as in a slideshow, if it's going to be a section background image or a hero background image, I usually make those images 1,920 pixels wide by 1,080 pixels tall. So that's 1920 wide by 1080 tall, and that's usually a pretty good ratio that will give you a nice size image to use. So we're just going to assume that's what we're using this for, so I'll go ahead and resize. So the first thing I want to do is actually go up to the image menu and click on image size, and you'll see it says width 4,000, height 2667. So I'm going to change the width to 1920, and you'll notice that automatically the height was changed. It was changed to keep everything proportional. So the height is now 1280. And the reason that is because of this box right here, constrain proportions. As long as this box is checked, if I change one ratio or one aspect, the other one will change as well automatically, and that's just going to keep the image from looking stretched or smushed or pulled and distorted. So we'll automatically keep everything proportional, so that's great. But we don't want our height to be 1280, we want it to be 1080. So that's fine. I'm going to leave the image size as is. I'm just going to set the width to 1920. I'm going to leave the height too big, and I'm just going to press OK. And now what I'm going to do is go back to image, and I'm going to go to canvas size this time. So image size actually impacts the image dimensions. Canvas size is really just the viewable area of the image. So I can change the canvas size and it won't really affect the image. It'll only affect the area that we can see of the image. So just to give you an example, I'll just select this anchor, and I'll explain what anchors are in a minute. And we'll just change this to 300 by 300. And I'll hit OK. And what we should see is just 300 pixels by 300 pixels of this lower right corner of this image when I press OK. Yeah, so this is all we're seeing now, just this little fraction of that corner of the image right here. So I just undid that. We're going to go back into the canvas size. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave the width at 1920, and I'm going to set the height of the canvas to 1080. And what this is going to do, since it was 1280, it's going to subtract 200 pixels off the viewable area. And that's where the anchor comes in. So the anchor, we can change where, I guess, kind of the focal point of the image is going to be. Usually the center's a pretty good bet, pretty safe one to choose. What this means is, since we know it's going to take off 200 pixels since the height was 1280 and I'm making it 1080, if I select the center, it's going to take it from both the top and the bottom, because the anchor is kind of the direction everything is going to move when you change the canvas size. So if I choose the center, it's going to take 100 off the bottom and 100 off the top. And I'll show you what that looks like. See, so not a big deal, which is why I choose the center. But if I undo it, you can see that it just gave us some more pixels back there. So I'll go to canvas size. And you could do, if I wanted to do this lower corner here, it will take 200 pixels just off the top, because there's no room on the bottom for it to take any, because everything's kind of shifting down, or I guess heading it down. So if I hit OK, we'll lose 200 pixels, but just off of the sky here. So see, that's a little bit more dramatic. So anyway, I like to do the center. That's usually pretty safe, but it's going to depend on whatever the subject of the image that you're trying to capture is. So by 1080. So there we go. So now our image is 1920 by 1080. That's perfect. That's what we want. Now we just need to optimize it when we export it. And to do that, we're going to go up under File. We're going to go to Save. And you'll notice the format, JPEG, for most images, photographs, things like that. JPEG is what you want. You don't want to export images as PNGs or GIF files. They're going to be huge. So JPEG is good for photos and stuff like that. As for the quality, you'll notice that it's set to 80. If I was doing this in Photoshop, I would set the quality to 70. You can usually get away with it, but since this is a free platform, the quality of it's a little bit different the way it does it. So I usually leave it set at 80. And what this means is it's going to output this image at 80% of the quality of the original, and that's usually pretty fine. The differences are not going to be noticeable to the naked eye. So usually what I'll do is I'll export a couple different versions, and I'll just keep dropping this number down, and then looking at the output, and usually I'll just find whatever that sweet spot is, as low as I can get it without it losing quality noticeably to the human eye. That's what I try to do, because you're going to save a ton of space, or a ton of disk space, by doing that. So you'll notice now, if I export this at 80%, it's telling me the size is 357 KB, which is a huge savings. So I'll just hit OK. We'll save it. Yep, replace. And just to kind of give you an example, we'll do KB to MB conversion. So you can see, just how much space that we saved. So it's 357. So 357 KB equals 0.357 megabytes. And you remember the original image was 3.2 megabytes. So we just saved a lot of space. So this image is going to load a lot quicker. It's going to speed up our page load time, which is something that Google likes to see. And it's going to be just better all the way around. It's going to take up less disk space on your server, so you'll have more room if you're paying for your disk space. It's going to use less bandwidth when visitors come to your website, because every website usually has a level of bandwidth that they can use to serve resources to people that visit your website. So you're going to be able to go a lot. Your website's going to be able to go a lot further on the bandwidth that you have if you don't have unlimited bandwidth. So it's going to be great all the way around. So that is your quick tip, trick, strategy for this week. Hit the subscribe button if you found value in this. I'm going to continue to make free videos, free tutorials, free resources about how to get the most out of your website and really make your website impact your bottom line. So if you found value, definitely subscribe so you don't miss those. If you're on Twitter, hit me up on Twitter, Alex W. Brinkman. on Twitter. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know if you found some value in this. And if you have any questions or there's other things that you'd like to learn, hit me up and let me know, and I'll make a tutorial about it. All right, cool. Thanks, guys.